Hello, everyone. Welcome to Discrete Math. My name is Scott Grizzard. It is the 17th of September, 2020. My name is Scott Grizzard from the University of South Florida. And today we're going to be doing the test review as was requested. So you guys feel a little bit stressed, so we'll talk about the test today. And then we'll move on with the new material tomorrow or Monday. Just a reminder that there's no problem set. So reminder that you actually have to be on the test. You have to take it at 12:30 tomorrow. And also reminder that there's no problem set due on Sunday. So there's no problem set 4. There will be a problem set 5. But, on test weeks, I kind of want to skip it because it's annoying and I still have this thing plugged in. Okay, are there any questions about that before we get started? Does it say calc? Oh, shoot. Okay, now it says discrete. I forgot to hit the update button. There we go. So I forgot to hit the update button on OBS, so it didn't update the Twitch. Now it should. So if you refreshed or whatever, it would say Discrete Math Fall 2020. Right? Each time I do it, I have to change it, I have to change the Twitch stream and I have to hit update, and I remembered to change it, but I didn't remember to hit the update information button, even though I did the update. Okay. So it's enough talking about that. Oops, I'm in the wrong one. So let's go over the quiz. This was one of the harder quizzes. For some reason it went away. There it is. And it's not updating again. Oh, now it did. Okay. So let me pull back up so I can see this. Let me see this. Yeah, so the people are asking about the notes assignment. Yeah, just do notes for this. You can make notes for the test review. I'm a bit too lazy to actually change the thing, so. Okay, so I'm going to answer questions. You've got things like how long do we have for the test, et cetera, et cetera. I'm going to get into that. Do not worry. Let's get the quiz first. And I want to keep the things I have to edit out down because I don't have much time to do editing. And now I've got a thing that says that. Now I've got a thing that says that. Okay. Hopefully I cut that stuff. All right. So quiz 4B, review of that. People are asking about the cat. She's fine. She's downstairs or outside. There it is. And I'm disorganized. Okay, so let's go over the quiz, and then I will be happy to talk about the test. So right now, this is how this works, right? So this is just classic De Morgan's. Not P or Q goes to not P and not Q. And then this one is not P and Q goes to not P or not Q. So how do we feel about that one, 1 to 5? Just the standard De Morgan's, the top two. All right. All right, the second two are harder. And D is actually, you should do D first. So if I do D first, right, I wind up with this right here. P implies Q is the equivalent to Q or not P. Okay? So this Q or not P bit, I'm supposed to keep my eye on this little thing here. This Q or not P bit is the same thing as not P or Q, right? If I say I'm going to the grocery store or I'm going to the theater, and then I say I'm going to the theater or I'm going to the grocery store, that's the exact same statement. So this one right here, this last one, part D maps to this one. Now, it's easier if you take this statement for this one and then run it through De Morgan's. So not P implies Q Well, here's P implies Q. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to substitute not for P implies Q. I'm going to bring this down and sub it in. So what I have now is not P or Q. And then I applied De Morgan's. I get not P and not Q. And not P is the same thing as P, so I wind up with P and not Q. Okay? So how do y'all feel about that one, 1 to 5? That last, so 1 to 5 on parts C and D. And the key to this, again, is to think of it mechanically. Okay? You don't want to think about it, right, as P implies Q. You want to think about P implies Q is the same thing as not P or Q. And once you have this, you deal with this one by just subbing it in. So I take this statement right here, right, and I plug it in. So now I have not P or Q. So, I mean, doing these things as a sentence works sometimes, but this is kind of, this one right here is kind of the key. Because you have to have that one. Now, once you have that one, the rest are just applications of that. Yeah, so when I distribute the not, I flip from an or to an and. That's what De Morgan says. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to run it, and I'll run with this here, right? This became not P and not Q when I ran it through De Morgan's. And that's how I get this answer. And then this, of course, just becomes not P. It just becomes regular P. Let me change the color to something else like blue. All right, so that's how that one works. Okay. You kind of have to think of them a little bit mechanically. And the advantage of doing this, again, is that you can do nonsensical statements. Okay. So the explanation was that I do D first. And D is P implies Q if and only if Q or not P. And this was the point of, so P implies Q if and only if Q or not P was the point of problem set 3, right? Because we did P implies Q in class, and then we did Q or not P in the problem set. And you were supposed to see that both of those were the same. And once you have that, it's just a piece of mechanics. Okay. There's a question about whether I'll upload to YouTube. So it's not, don't just memorize it. You don't memorize this. You memorize this piece here. Okay? You memorize that P implies Q if and only if Q or not P. And then, and you kind of have to use a truth table to show that, because that's a slightly strange question. We'll get into it a little bit, but it's slightly strange. But once you have that, you treat these things like mechanical. mechanical objects. And this is how a computer will evaluate your logic. So it's kind of important when you make these conditionals. A big source of bugs is bad conditionals in your code. A big source of bugs is bad conditionals. So if you use this method of just running negatives through there, so and this comes up all the time in coding, right? If I want I could give you like a sample problem. I could give you a piece of code with one statement and then a piece of code with an identical thing of logic and say, well, these print the same thing. Something like that. Okay. So that's kind of the explanation about that. You don't memorize all of these truth table things. You kind of just memorize that point. So 1 to 5, how do we feel about the stuff that I'm asking you to memorize? Yeah. Right, there's only one little piece of that, and the rest of it's just understanding what that means. All right, speaking of that, let's go down to the bottom here. If P implies Q, does that mean not P implies not Q? Let me rephrase this. If Hillary Clinton is president, we have a bad president. Does that mean we have a good one? Huh? If Hillary Clinton is president, we have a bad president. Does that mean that the president we have is a good one since she's not? Is it possible that both of them were lousy? Right? Is it possible that we had two very bad choices and that no matter which way we voted, either one of them would have been a crappy president? Yes. Correct? Hillary Clinton is not president, but that does not mean we have a good president. Right? If you're wondering about my politics, I hate them both. So that's where that comes from. I basically hate everyone. So, I mean, the last candidate I actually liked was Jack Kemp. So, you don't know who he is. He's gold standard type person. And he was old even when I was young, okay? So that's the point. This is not necessarily true, right? If I go to the grocery store, I'm going to get orange juice. I didn't go to the grocery store, but I still could have gotten orange juice. How do we feel about 2A, 1 to 5? All right, so we kind of understand that idea. This one, on the other hand, is different. If Hillary Clinton was president, we'd have a bad president. Okay? Well, if it wasn't the fact that we had a bad president, that would mean Hillary Clinton wasn't president. Okay? If the moon was made of green cheese, I could eat it. I can't eat the moon, therefore the moon is not made of green cheese. This one is true. This one is valid. Okay. How do we feel about that one, 1 to 5? And you can do this one mechanically with a truth table. It's just a pain in the neck. Okay, x minus a equals x with x intersect a. So is the set in, oops, if this is x and this is a, is that set there equal to that set there? No. All right, x minus ab is equal to x minus a intersect x minus b. Right. X minus a cap b. So here's x. Let's say we've got a here and b here. Then we've got x without a. Right? And then we have x without b. So x minus the intersection of a cross b is going to include everything but that little thing in the middle. Well, this one includes all of that stuff. So these two sets include a minus b and b minus a, but these two do not. This is false. All right, let's do another example, because that's kind of hard. Okay. How do we feel about that one, 1 to 5? Part D. Okay. So let's do an example here. Let A be the set of red cards, B be the set of tens. Okay. So A intersect B equals what? A intersect B equals the set hearts, the 10 of hearts and the 10 of diamonds. While x minus a equals, let's see, so all the black cards. So clubs, union, spades. And x minus b equals all the cards but 10 spade, 10 club, and 10 heart, and 10 of diamonds. All right, so if I do x minus a cap b, I wind up with everything but the 10 of hearts and the 10 of diamonds. And if I do x minus a cap x minus b, I end up with the clubs and spades. So this is the clubs and spades. So this set right here is much larger than this set. Okay. This next one, so how do we feel about that one, 1 to 5? All right. All right, this one's true. This one's just the statement of De Morgan's for sets. Now, this last one, you do it mechanically, right? Every time a negative passes a quantifier, you flip the quantifier. So this right here becomes there exists an A in A so that there does not exist a B in B such that PA is QB and QB. And then you flip that quantifier. There exists an A in A such that you flip this one again for all B in, that should be a B, not a P, B. It is not the case that PA and QB. And then we flip the quantifier one more time, and then we applied De Morgan's to the back of it. Not PA or not QB. So this one's true. How do we feel about that one, 1 to 5? It's mechanical. You have to think about it mechanically. Okay? I've got a knot. I'm going to pass it in. Then I'm going to keep going with it. But it's mechanical. You do it, you do it, you do it. The rule is you pass a negative across, you flip the quantifier. This is for all. Okay. All right. So we're not really comfortable with that thing. Okay. So the 3 examples, every time I did one of these, I passed through another quantifier. Or unless you're talking about the notes. All right. So, no, you don't get a notation quantifier. I expect you to table. I expect you to actually know the notations. So let's do another kind of thing. Let's do just a word example for this, okay? I want to say that it is not the case that for every, let's do suit in the deck. There exists a card in that suit so that the card is red. Okay. It is not the case that for every suit in the deck, there exists a card in that suit so that the card is red. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass this through. It's faster if I do this. So the equivalent thing is it's not the case that for all suit in deck, there exists a card in suit such that a card is red. So what I do is I pass the quantifier through and I say, okay, that means that there exists a suit in deck so that for every card in suit, card is not red. Okay. So how do we feel about that 1 to 5? There's always, yes, so people are saying in chat that it gets confusing when there's more than one. Yes. Okay. Another example. It is not the case that there exists a book so that for every page in that book, the book has a picture of the cat. Okay. So this statement is saying the following. It is not the case that there exists a book in the world so that for every page in book, page has a cat. This, obviously this is true. The negation is false because this thing is true, but, as a statement, it's fine. So for all books in the world, there exists a page in book so that a page has no cat picture. Okay. A simpler statement would be another example. it is not the case that every card in the deck is a heart. Okay, so it is not the case that for every card in deck, card is heart. Which would be the same as there exists a card in deck such that card is not a heart. Okay, so how do we feel about these quantifiers and negating through them? 1 to 5. The upside down A means for all, for each. Okay. We aren't doing that. There we go. So, okay, so test review. Procedures. By 12:15 p.m. on Friday, be logged into Discord. Okay, so everyone saw this kind of channel called Calculus Test Review, where I was doing the calculus review. It's going to be there's going to be a channel at the top called Discrete Test. I'll even create it now. Okay. We're taking test. Okay. So what you'll do is log into that. There'll be another channel called hand raised. So what you'll do is you'll jump into the taking test channel, and then there'll be a channel called hand raised. And then what'll happen is that you'll jump into that channel. I'll give you announcements. There'll also be an announcement, an announcement text channel where I can send you all messages. Okay, and then what'll happen is that if you have an issue, you'll go from the taking test, right? You'll be sitting in the taking test. If you have an issue, you go to the hand raised channel, and then a TA or myself will come speak to you. Okay. So make sure you're on by 12:15. Noon. Test opens. 1:45 p.m. Test closes. Okay. Follow Factorial instructions. Oh, yeah. So it must have been logged onto Discord on your phone. Good point. So you must be logged onto Discord on your phone. That's very important. That's just in case there's an emergency. So if your internet goes out, or you have an issue, or you just have a question about a question, you can go into the raised hand thing. We'll be able to fix it. If your internet crashes, or your power gets knocked out by a storm, or something like that happens, we'll have a way to fix issues. Okay. Now, the practice, let me get into that. Okay. How many questions are there on the test? I confess I haven't finished it yet. Okay. And it depends if you were looking at a paper one with lots of things. I mean, that's not really an indicator. Let me tell you what I'm looking for. Median time should be about 45 minutes. Okay. So it should take the middle person who turns it in should be turning it in 45 minutes into it. Okay. So, oh, no, it's not 1:45, it's 1:15. I'm sorry. Test doesn't close at 1 that test opens at 12:30. Sorry. Not noon, 12:30 test opens, 1:45 test closes. There we go. Fix that. The design is to be about a 45-minute test. Okay? Most of the now, for questions, think quizzes. Okay? So, is there a practice test? Huh? Yes, there is a practice test. It's all the quizzes together. Okay? I'll go over, there's like, I think, one question that's on it right now that we haven't done in a quiz, and I may drop it. But seriously, think quizzes. Okay? So, it's not the exact things. I changed some numbers. Now, it's not exact because, like, for that one problem, so an example of something like a test problem. Okay. A plus B to the fourth equals, select all that apply. Okay. So if I had A plus B to the fourth, that would equal, so, and then you'll see a bunch of options, right? So you'll see something like 4 falls 0, A to the fourth, B to the 0, plus 4 falls 1, A to the cube, B to the first, plus 4 falls 2, A to the squared, B squared, plus 4 falls 1. I'm sorry, 4 falls 3. A to the first, B squared, plus 4 falls 4. A to the 0, B to the, that should be a 3. This should be a 4. And then you might see, so this would be an option. Another option will be 4 choose 0, A to the fourth, B to the 0, plus 4 choose 1, A to the third, B to the first, plus 4 choose 2, A squared, B squared, plus 4 choose 3, A to the first, B cubed, plus 4 choose 4, A to the 0, B to the fourth. And then there'll be an option for this whole thing here. How do I do that? How do I make it copy here? What did it do? Undo. Copy. Stop that. And then there'll be an option for this. This should be over 0 factorial. This should be over 1 factorial. This should be over 2 factorial. This should be over 3 factorial. This should be over 4 factorial. And then there might be another option that is a to the 4th plus 4a cubed b first plus 4 choose 2. Is that 6? This is 4, 3 over 2, 1. So that would be 6. 6a squared b squared plus 4a1, I'm sorry, a b cubed plus b to the 4th. Okay, so which of these options is the correct one? Okay, so which of these options? So this is not multiple choice. This is multiple select, right? It's not just B, right? B is correct. The second one is correct. But what else is correct? This is correct, right? Because this is the formula for this. Not this, but this one. These are the formulas for each one of them. And this is the correct thing. This is it simplified. No, it's 2, 3, and 4. It's B, C, and D. You see? Because the second one is the correct. I may have the coefficients backwards on the thing, but they're the same coefficients, right? Because the thing's symmetrical. So both of these are right. So all 3 of these are right. And the correct answer is 3 of them. And this kind of combines multiple quiz questions. And yes, you get partial credit if you do part of them. I don't know how much the partial credit works. I don't know how that system works on Canvas, but yes. Okay. So how comfortable are we with the kind of questions that I'm going to ask, 1 to 5? So what I'm saying is that this was kind of a multiple choice question. No, you are not allowed calculators. I said that in the syllabus. Okay. But the only, because I don't want you to just be able to throw in the combinatorial numbers. Okay. But when you look back on the quizzes, here are the quizzes, right? So I've got 4B, 4A. Here I've asked you to evaluate a choose 2. Here I've asked you to evaluate, no, I didn't ask you for the size of that one. Does this one have any ones? Where did I ask you to evaluate a size? Here I asked you to evaluate a choose 2. Here I asked you to create the things, but is this... Oh, that's spring, sorry. Why do I have springs up? Oh, this is fall. It just says it's spring. Okay. Here I asked you for that without simplifying the coefficients, and then I mistakenly put 2 answers that were on. So the only part of the thing is just knowing that the formula is that. Okay. And then really what the things I'm asking for, this is the only one that I kind of didn't give I sort of did a one on the test, on the quiz, but I didn't do this type of exact problem on the on a quiz. I didn't do this exact problem where you pick multiple for the binomial theorem. So I wanted to go over that one because that's kind of the one I'm kind of something similar that I'm thinking about that I didn't do perfectly. But then, I'm going to give you a set. Now, a lot of these things are going to be together, right? So instead of asking you all of these things like this, what I'll probably do is like combine like this question here. I might give you an A and a B and then, select the functions, but then also I'll give you something like, tell me the size of A choose 2, tell me what B choose 2 is, that kind of thing. Oh, I'm sorry, I put it on the wrong camera. I'm sorry. So that's similar to one of these ones. The one, I kind of asked you part of these questions. Like when I asked you this and then I asked you this. Now I'm just going to ask you, I'll give you a bunch of equivalencies and you have to know which one's which. So that's the only one that first one, that example of a test problem is the only one that didn't do what I wanted it to do. And then I think I said that for the other stuff like this, you may see combined. So I may put like A equals ABC, B equals 1, 3, or something like that. And then I'll ask you like, what's 2 to the A? What's B choose 2? What's the size of B choose 2? What's, the size of this set? I might ask you the size of the union. I might ask you what the union is, and do all those sorts of things. So I might mix, you might see like one set of conditions and a whole bunch of the problems that were from that set of conditions. Okay. Okay. I like this type of thing. And then you will definitely see some one with a code. So you've kind of seen all the types of questions, and then you'll probably see a little bit of mix and match. All right, does anyone have any specific questions for me? I just dropped a bunch of my cards. Yeah, so the problem sets. So the stuff about the problem sets that I can ask. That's a good question. So there's a question on here about the problem sets. This is calculus. That's last year's calculus. That's discrete math. All right, so there's this question about the problem sets. So when I say study the problem sets, I mean the following. So obviously problem set 1 is annoying. I mean, there's not much there. But something like this. I could ask you, not something particular, but I could give you a problem where I ask you to, where I give like an array, and then I ask it to run over the array. And it'd be a read problem. So I might ask you with an if statement, type of thing. But the purpose of doing it is not to trip you up. Okay? So to give you an example, let's go to problem set 3. I might give you a loop like this. Okay? And then ask you like this. I might give you this loop and then ask you, is this going to print the truth table for P implies Q? And the answer is yes. Why? It won't print the header for the thing, but it would have the same output as P implies Q. Right? So I might give you this and tell you, okay, so not that one. No, I'd actually give you this, right? So you had this like not Q thing here, right? And then I might have the correct code to print out this, and then ask you, will this print out? Will the last column print the same conditions as Q? Was P implies Q? And the answer is yes, because Q or not P is the same thing as P implies Q. So I won't be doing it. Won't be so. I will not be giving you problems that trip you up on the syntax. If I give you a problem with code in it, it's because I'm asking you about the logic that the computer is following. I'm not trying to trip you up on syntax. Okay? My point is not to. The point of this class is not how to code. The point of this class is connecting code to math. Okay? And I cannot stress this enough. I don't want to teach you how to code PHP. I want you to learn enough PHP so that you can connect the code to the math. Right? So if I gave you the correct piece of code to print this, you would actually be printing out the truth table for P implies Q, because Q or not P is equivalent to P or implies Q. Okay? So again, I could give you the code. So I might write code. Right? I may say, well, the following code output P implies Q correctly. And then the code say, loop, the correct loops. And then it would say something like, what would be the condition? So the condition that you wound up being was var export what was it? The P or not Q. Right? And this would be incorrect, right? Because that's not the code. But if I gave you the same piece of code and said Q or not P, right? It's not that it's in the incorrect code, it's that the logic is not true, right? This and this have the exact same. Of course, I'll fix that. I'll have the correct parentheses. The code would actually run if you could run it, okay? So I'm not like saying it'd kick out an error. No, it won't. Right? If I had a condition that had this in this piece of code, right, this would actually do what I wanted it to do. Right? I could ask you the same thing. Will this piece of code execute if not P or Q? And then I have the thing goes if not P and not Q, then, okay? So it'd be just like that kind of print stuff that I did before, right? This and this are equivalent, correct? Because of De Morgan's. Not P and not Q is the exact same thing as not P or Q. Right? Will this print out? So how do you feel about that 1 to 5? This kind of question that I could ask you. Okay. All right. rest of the structure of the test. There are 110 available points. The test is scored out of 100. What can you get on every quiz? An 11. It's scored out of 10. What can you get on the test? 110. It's scored out of 100. Well, maybe 5 for what you remember from the last lecture. Okay. Now, does anyone have any questions about specific things on the... So someone's asking how many questions. The answer is that's not a good question. Okay? Because what is a question, right? If you look at the... If you look at this right here on paper, right, for this quiz, this is one question with 4 parts. If you looked at the exact same thing on Canvas, it's 4 different questions on Canvas. Okay? So think a better question would be more like how many pages about is it? And the answer is, if I printed up the test, it'd probably come to about 6 or 7 pages. Okay? Now, anything on a quiz is absolutely fair game. Okay? So I want you to keep that in mind. Okay? And the answer is yes, you will have enough time. I'm shooting for 45-minute median time. About 45 minutes is what I'm thinking about the median time. So some people should be done in 30. Other people should take, 60. But remember, you have 75 minutes to complete the thing. No, that's 6. Come on, 6 pages written, okay? If you think about a quiz here, right? This is a page. This is a page. Right? And yes, there's a lot of think 6 quizzes stapled together. No, 6 quizzes stapled together because most of them are 1 page. But some of these are 2 pages, so I think 4.5, 5. Okay, you should have enough time to finish the whole thing. Okay. You should have plenty of time to finish the exam. Okay. I gave you the 2 things that I might do that are slightly different. Which is I might do a little bit of code. I might not. I love this loop question here, by the way. The one that we did on this question right here. I love that question. I think that was spring. So where did we do it in fall? I know we did it. Which quiz had the question 3A, 3B, 4A, 4B, 1B? Which quiz had the question about the which question had the one about the loop? Thought it was 3B. Oh, yeah, here it is, 3B. So I love this question. Quiz 2B, problem C number 3. Okay, so that one's really hard. I might put this one on there, but it wouldn't be for many points. I'm not trying to make you guys score low on this test. So the question was something like, this is a harder one. I like this, but it's a little hard. Something like, and yes, you can keep your points if you score more than one. If you score more than 100, something like 2B, 2C, 3. All right. So this one was how many exactly? How many? So how many hands? Do you guys see now? How many hands contain exactly 2 hearts? So this was the question from before. And I'm now asking you how many hands contain exactly 2 hearts. There's the setup. Okay. Make it a little bit bigger. All right, well, how am I going to figure out how many hands contain exactly 2 hearts? Okay. So how many hands contain exactly 2 hearts? This was the setup for the problem, but this is the one I'm doing. So another example like this. Okay. Well, I'm going to use the rule of and. So how many cards how many ways are there to choose the hearts? 13, choose 2, right? Now, how many ways to choose the other 3 cards? Well, that's 52 minus 13 because I can't choose any of the hearts. Choose 3. So my answer is 13 choose 2 times 52 minus 13 choose 3. How do you feel about that, 1 to 5? That's a hard problem. Remember, that's the hard one. All right, someone was asking for the factorial. It's backwards. X, choose Y when order doesn't matter. I put them together because I said and then. Right? This is multiply. I multiply those two numbers together. Right? Okay. So there was a question about the factorials. So 5 factorial equals 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, which equals the following 5. 5 false 5. Okay. So k factorial is the number of ways to sort k things. Can I make it so that you could see the previous quizzes? I thought I set that up. If I didn't, I will fix that. They should all be in Canvas. I don't know how to set up what you're doing, but I'll see if I can do it. And yes, you're able to submit the scratch paper for points. All right, so I've got. So someone's saying, can they see their old quiz files? I am going to see if I can do that. So I explained factorials. This test tends to be the hardest just because you're the most nervous about it. So last semester, here's how it went, okay? I shouldn't say is the hardest. It's not the hardest. It's the one that, in terms of content, it's not the hardest, but it's the one that you don't know what's coming. So last semester, it had the lowest test scores, but I think that test 2 was harder. But test 2, everyone had figured out what I was going to ask by then. So test 1 tends to have lower test scores simply because people don't know what's going on yet. But by the last time when they saw test 2, they all got very nice scores. Well, not everybody, but most people got nice scores because you were like, oh yeah, I just need to study the quizzes. Raise your hand if you will probably be crying tonight. I need to put my hand up too. Because I have to program all this stuff I have to program the test into Canvas tonight. Yeah, 5 card hands. I'm sorry, that was part of the setup, and I didn't mention that. That was 2BC. 3B2C. Okay, so 3B2C was this thing right here. Okay. So that was this thing, right? If you put in the code, you could figure it out. And the point was that what you're going to wind up doing is enumerating. You can't see that because I'm on the wrong screen again. This was this code here, okay? And the point was that after I did it, I figured out what the thing was doing. And then, so this is a fair question. I like these questions. And obviously you don't have the access to to run the code. You can't do that. But the reason why this is a good question is because if you did it right, and as I said, that's the thing about test 2, is by the time test 2 rolls around, you figured out how to study for the class, right? You figured out how to play with the thing. And we're into the stuff that's in the book, so you have another resource, right? This test 1 stuff, I don't like the way that the logic and stuff is presented in our textbook. So it's a little bit disconnected, and that's extra hard when you've got an online class. When you've got an online class and you're not using the textbook, it's a nightmare, right? Because you don't have another perspective other than mine. I tried to use like other books to give you the other perspective. So that's one of the things that makes it hard. When we get to test 2, we're suddenly, we're merging into the textbook because we're not doing we've got the logic, we're doing the logic completely differently than the textbook is doing it. And we're doing sets at the same time. So the textbook wants to use induction to do all of these things about binomials. I don't want to do that because it's not that induction's invalid. It's just that there's better ways to think about it. For an IT person. That's not to say that comp sci people don't need that stuff. In one sense, we do too, but we don't need to be as proof heavy as the textbook is, especially in the logic section. So I didn't want to use the textbook's way of doing it because then we'd basically spend we'd basically spend 6 weeks talking about these really strict rules of inference and all of the ways to do proofs without actually doing any of the cool stuff. And the counting is kind of neat. So I'm sorry for taking up your time with that rant. But I do think that it's more appropriate for us to not have the textbook. But that kind of stinks because now we don't have the textbook. Quizzes. So if I run this code, right? When I run this code, so I'm sorry for doing that. When I run this code here, right, every time it runs through the loop, it's going to print jam. All right? For these 4 times. So it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. It's going to print jam. It goes I equals 1, I equals 2, I equals 3, I equals 4. The second time, it goes I equals 1, and then it enters a new loop, and it goes, okay, I equals 1, and then it goes, okay, j equals 1, j equals 2, j equals 3, j equals 4. I finish the loop, I equals 2. J equals 1, j equals 2, j equals 3, j equals 4. I equals 3. J equals 1, j equals 2, j equals 3, j equals 4. I equals 4. J equals 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay? Now, this one, it's going to run through the exact same process, but now it's only going to print if I is less than j. Okay? So now when it does I equals 1, j equals 1, it doesn't do anything. When it does I equals 1, j equals 2, it prints. When it does I equals 1, j equals 3, it prints. I equals 1, j equals 4, it prints. Okay? So the point is that it's only going to print if I throw this as a grid. If I think of this as a grid, and I think of this, okay, I and j here. So I have, let's do this here. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is j as, this should actually be like this. I, j, and I put 1, 2, 3, 4 here, right? No, yes, 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 no, 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 yes, yes, yes. So there's two ways to think about how to figure this out. Okay? The first way is I do 3 plus 2 plus 1 plus 0. And that's going to be true. If I went up to 15, it'd be 15 plus 14 plus 13 plus 12 plus 11 plus 10. Okay? On the other hand, I can think of this as printing for every xy in 1, 2, 3, 4, choose 2. Right? It's going to print off the unordered pairs in a sense, right? Because it's going to print all the ordered ones, but it's only going to care if this one was less than this one. So essentially, it prints once for the set. It prints once for the pair, for the unordered pair for the set, 1, 2, because it prints for the ordered pair 1, 2, but not 2, 1. And it's going to print once for 3, 4, because it prints for, because it prints for 4, 3. I'm sorry, it prints for 1, 2, yes. I'm sorry, it prints for 2, 1, but not 1, 2. Or am I doing it backwards? I'm doing it backwards. This should be I, and the other one should be J. I'm sorry. That's probably confusing as hell. Yeah, I is less than J. Sorry. These are the yeses. Okay, so it prints once for 2, 1, but not 1, 2. So it prints only once for the unordered pair 1, 2. It only prints once for that. It prints once for the unordered pair 3, 4, since it prints for 4, 3, and not for 3, 4. And then it never prints on a 1, 1. So the point is that if I want to enumerate A choose 2, I do it with this. 1 to 5, how do we feel about that? I think I lost my TA, didn't I? Yep. Hold on. There we go. Now I got 1 to 5. Well, I got 4 choose 2 because it prints for all. I got 4 choose 2 because it prints only for the elements. So it prints once for every element of A choose 2. And their and the size of A equals 4. So it prints 4 choose 2 times. Right? That's the point. It's going to print once for every unordered pair, right? Because it prints for 2, 1, but not for 1, 2, and so on and so forth. And then it never prints on the diagonal. So what's left is the set A choose 2. Which is interesting. Because that's how you would enumerate over the unordered pairs when you're programming. So that's the whole point of this question, was to get to that point. Was if you want to write a script to enumerate all the pairs of files, that's how you do it. All right, are there any more questions? Oh, it's 4:52, so technically class is over. I hope you feel better about the test. I hope I didn't make it worse. There was a question if I could make it so that you could see what was the questions that were on the tests that you missed. I will try to do that. I think don't psych yourselves out. I could tell you I'm going to curve it, but the problem is that if I say that, and then the average is above an 80, which is probable, then I can't curve it. So I just would rather say I'm not going to, because I know what's going to happen. You guys are going to psych yourselves out. You're going to get on there and you're going to be like fine with it. And remember, I drop the lowest test score. So as long as you take every test, you have to take them. But your final can count twice. I'd rather, I can't do the straight drop thing because of the psycho thing that they did where I'm not allowed to have a test 4 during the week before finals. We're not allowed to have tests the week before finals, and I can't give you 2 tests during final exam week. But remember that if your lowest score is lower than your final, and the final is required, and you didn't skip a test, then, it will replace your final. So don't worry about it. Oh, come on, guys. Write some quick notes. You watch the thing. I know to do this. I know to do this. I know to do this. I played with this problem. I played with this problem. Pick a bunch of problems off the quizzes and do them. I'll even write that. For today's notes, you can do regular notes. For today's notes, you can do regular notes. Or you can 6 old quiz problems. Okay, so I write 6 old quiz problems or do regular notes. Your choice. How's that? Is that better? So, yeah. So go pick 6 problems off the gold quizzes and do them. Okay. That's it. It's 4:55. I've gone way over. I still have to write your test. Won't finish writing it. I've written most of it. I still have to code it into Canvas. I hate Canvas coding. I still have to make Factorial work. But so I got to do that tonight. And due date to take the retake quizzes by. Do it before the final. If I put a due date on it, then I'll give you advance notice about the due date. Just don't use Factorial problem solved. Actually, that was a proposal. That instead of giving you tests, I just give you longer and longer programming assignments that connect the math to the programming. But I said that would turn this into a class all about PHP, and you'd pull your hair out and be very unhappy. So I think the test is, some people would prefer that But no, I'm not going to do that because it's, yeah. So some of you would love that. I give you really long programming assignments. But then what people do is they copy code off the internet. So, it's the same amount of, we don't use Factorial. Now we have to use Turnitin for your code. And it's really hard to do that for code, right? So, because code looks alike when it's done right. And, so I can't do that. The only real way to make, I did quizzes, and I did the tests, and I think this is the best structure that we can get, given the thing. I'd much rather give you paper tests, in person, but we can't do that. So we are left with what we are. Yes, you can use Turnitin for code. It sucks, but you can use it. But I don't, as I said, it's just a pain. Are there any other questions? Yes, you can ask me a question afterward. Okay, so I'll be around-ish for the next hour and a half if you want to ask me questions in private. And I will be happy to speak with you. I will be on Discord on and off. As I said, I do have to finish the test, but I will be happy to do that. What quiz is the most important one to study? How can I answer that? They're all, I'll tell you what. 1A is not very important. I'll give you the one that you can kind of discard. How's that? As I said, you'll see. Stop. I really wish that you would relax more than you are, because you're very thing. Someone said I wake up at 11 o'clock noon now for your online courses. How could I wake up early tomorrow? I feel your pain, but come on, 12:30. I think I posted most of the quiz keys. Okay. So that's it. I'm going to end the stream. Goodbye.